Hello, guys. This is Alex Julian or Aloysius Zanderman here. I am making this video to give my audience advice about reading and writing, just in general, because I know a lot of my audience members on DeviantArt and on YouTube are artists themselves. They may be writers, they may be photographers, they may be artists in a lot of pursuits, and they are interested in learning how to write and learning how to read. And definitely, there's a lot of writer's block these days where beginners may be wondering how to write something or how to read something or how to know and to understand and how to think and feel about something. And well, I'll toast you with this Diet Pepsi and give some advice to you about what I've discovered over the years with writing and reading. Ah, Diet Pepsi. Diet Pepsi, and it's a healthier alternative to sugar sodas. It is. Now, as you probably know, in case you do not know, fast reading as an instant reading is usually false. I'll give you a moment to think about it so that way, with watching this video, you do not make the mistake of instant watching, as in instant reading, as in instant viewership. Especially with literature, such as poetry, it is important for the audience of writing literature, to not make the mistake of instant reading, as in fast reading. Remember that. Do not make the mistake of fast reading. Do not make the mistake of instant reading. Because that is not an appropriate reading method for an unknown world full of strangers. We generally are strangers to each other, right? We're strangers to each other. So, therefore, reading should not be done fast. Reading, pardon my French, reading should be done carefully. Reading should be done slowly. Reading should be done one piece at a time, one word at a time. So, for example, some audience members will read something so fast that they forget to even blink. Or audience members for writing literature may forget to use their eyes, use their nose, use their mouths, use their ears, use their body parts when they read. Reading is very tempting because pretending readers will only rest and just ignore the words. It's like how a teacher in a classroom will ask the students, "Do any of you have any questions for the teacher?" And the students will be silent even when the students did not actually know what they were reading. That's an example of instant reading, as in fast reading. There would be readers trying to rush reading. Readers would maybe even think, "Come on, hurry up. Come on, hurry up. I want to get to the end of the chapter so I can use the bathroom." And political readers get way, 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 way out of hand. And a lot of political readers are really just fast readers or instant readers. And generally, political readers are usually false. Because rather than thinking about the purpose of government, they will just worry about getting benefits from society. That is very selfish and very unorthodox. I mean, really, you political readers were just looking for benefits from your nation, and you're not thinking about the purpose of government. If you do not think carefully about the purpose of government, you have no business dealing with political science. Because political science is about determining what the purpose of government is, what the purpose of society is. It's not about benefits of society, as in friends with benefits. That's not what political science is about. Anyways, let me drink some more Diet Pepsi while you slowly from watching this video do true reading of work of literature. And definitely, poetry is not easy to read. Poetry does get politically scientific. Poetry reading does get philosophical. Poetry reading does get into a lot of typography and wisdom of rhyme and reason. And definitely, for a work of poetry I would read a poem for a few minutes, like maybe 2 to 3 minutes. I would read my poem, but I know pardon my French, but I know that to really read my poem, it may take you years to do so. Poetry requires patient reading, as in really, 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 really patient reading. Poetry requires slow reading. And political science also requires slow reading. And that is why school is not always a successful source for reading. Some types of reading, especially very, very important reading, require a lifestyle, not a studying habit, a lifestyle. And that is very difficult to do. But it can require a lifetime to really read something through. To really read something through, it could take a lifetime, a lifestyle, if you will. Think about it. When a writer puts, let's say, poetry on paper, how many years did it take for the writer to actually come to that moment of that instant but collective gathering of a lifetime of information to put it on paper for poetry? You see, that is why instant reading or fast reading is generally false. Because in real life, instance of expression does not equal time of expression. We may require a lot of time to come to that moment of expressing something. Kind of like a sponge that soaks up water, and it has to soak up water long enough for it to squeeze out the results, which is, of course, water and maybe other things from the sponge. We can be like detectives when we do reading and literature and writing correctly. It takes time to remember years and years of learning, years and years of studying, years and years of knowing. It takes a long time for us to gather information to put it on paper. And with the poetry I write, with the literature that I write, I put down on paper ideas that take a lifetime to learn. It really does take a lifetime to learn a lot of material for this stuff. So, for example, what do we mean when we say bye bye? What do we mean by that? What do we mean when we say, hello or good morning? What do we mean? Or what do we mean when we get into deep details, get into original thoughts, get into unique wisdom? What do we mean? It takes a lot of slow reading to really come to terms with what literature means. Literature requires that we take time to go over the literature, as in to get really deep into that literature and find out what it means. With my literature, I spend most every day writing little by little to amount to a great amount of knowledge. I've written some really exciting poems for the last few weeks, and I encourage you guys to take a look at these poems that I have, because I do get into a lot of creative detail with abstract thinking, with secondary metaphors and literary signs for meaning on paper. And I could also spend time in this video to explain what my poetry is for. And definitely I've already been explaining in a lot of detail what my poetry is for. And I could say when it comes to my poetry that I am not like every poet out there. I am myself. I am Alex Julian. And my poetry does have some very unique and original traits to it. So, for example, what I like to do with my poems, in case you are not aware of my poems in my literature, what I like to do with my poems is give you the pieces, but let you figure out where to put the pieces together for the reading of literature with observation of poetry at work from my collection of literature. And it does get fun. It does get fun to do so. And it does go to a lot of directions here and there when it comes to where to put sights, where to put mites, where to put lights, where to put fights, and those kinds of things, with there being that struggle for consciousness with my nerdy behavior. And with my mental agony, and with my mental wondering. At times with my poetry, I do not actually give answers to where to go with something. Instead, I leave hints. I leave clues. I leave signs that there's a struggling consciousness in me to get to the ignorance that poets often really love, and that fun that poets really love to share and nourish with others. And yet, we do not want to get ahead of ourselves. We do not want to get ahead of ourselves because those can get into more benefits of literature, as in friends with benefits. And it is important to keep track of where literature goes. But you know what the good news is? When a work of literature is released, it's right there. And the dictionary can always give us possible pictures of what the words may mean. Because definitions do lead to pictures, as in a high definition TV leads to a picture of the TV. So, with definitely those definitions of words, we will get pictures. And there's no such thing as words without meaning in that sense. There will be meaning with words as long as there are words. So, definitely let's not worry too much and go frantic over everything. And school is not always the best teacher for reading and writing. And that is because reading and writing are better done when it's on a voluntary basis. Reading and writing are done better when it's on a voluntary basis, not when it's done on a you must do this homework stuff, because that could get too scary and too intimidating for readers to get along with authors and writers. And here's my advice from my audience right now. Never listen to immature teachers. Yeah, just in general. Never listen to immature teachers. They are always starting something. They are always on the lookout for something. They are never dull. They are never unnerving. They are never calm. They are always looking for trouble. They are always looking for problems. They are always looking for unnecessary manners. And it's because immature teachers are trying to look for a fight or look for a conflict. Immature teachers kill appreciation for literature. So for this reason, even if you go to school, if there's an immature teacher, ignore that teacher. There's no point. It defeats the purpose of reading and writing and loving it if you listen to immature teachers. It's a bad habit. Okay. So let me ask you this. How long did it take for you to read my message so far in this video? Think about it. How long did it take you to bring your head back together, bring yourself back together, and have more confidence for your writing? Have more confidence for your reading? How long did it take you? Really? How long did it take you? You're probably realizing that it takes the amount of time that it takes. It does. And there is your own pace with reading. There is your own pace with writing. And you cannot take away yourself. You cannot. You are who you are. And writing in literature and reading in literature, it does take a lot of time. It does. So, get a handle of it. In case you're wondering, get a handle of it and listen carefully for information. Because literature does take it by the particle, by the typo, by the text, by the word. It's very gradual. It's very stimulating. And always remember this. If you read a book once, you could read it again. Literature does have importance with repetition, as in repetition of the instance. That imposter offense I mentioned to reflect on the reality of man's gaze on himself. As I pointed out with my literature, with my poetry. And it is definitely of a remarkable merit, a really outstanding merit, a really honest and deserving merit to take time with reading, to take time with writing. Let me put it this way. When you're going to school, if you are still going to school, or if you are someone who in the past went to school, let me ask you this. When going to school, how many books is your teacher requiring you to read? Let me ask you this. How many books are your teachers requiring you to read? Well, literature does take time. It does take time, kind of like a soaking sponge. Gotta take it one piecemeal at a time, as in piece for piece, sentence for sentence, theory for theory, paragraph for paragraph, word for word. It does take time to read. And the worst thing you could do with your reading is doing very instant, very fast reading and being ignorant of the world while pretending that the words were actually impacting you. And definitely you should not fall for that trap of the fast food of reading, as in instant reading, fast reading. Because in real life, slow reading is the true nature of man. And it's the true nature, a true test of his patience. And I thank you guys for listening to my talk show for tonight, and let this be good advice for your reading and writing of everyday literature in your life.